Fun Dad fact number 16. Did you know that daycare is a festering cesspool of germs and bacteria? Well, you'll learn more about that in today's episode. I'm Matt Howes, and this is Shits and Giggles, a podcast for dads. Welcome back there, winners, to another fun-filled, glorious episode of the Sherpa of Dad podcasts, Shits and Giggles, a podcast for dads. I am Matt Howes. I am here to guide you. I'm here to make you happy. I'm just here. I'm here for you. I'm here for you dads out there. So sorry about the delay in the release of today's episode. And it is today's episode because I'm recording it on the day it's going to be released. It has been a shit show, a myriad of things going on. And I am going to regale you with the tales of how today came to be so delayed throughout the episode. So do not worry. You will know why. This is not a mystery. This is just every day is a new day. Yes, every day is a new day. That's my catchphrase. That's the newest catchphrase. Shits and Giggles, a podcast for dads. Hey there, winners. Every day is a new day. That's canon now. So listen, before I get into any of this crap today, I want to thank you all for riding along on this journey, riding along with me on this train of fatherhood, this train of dad nation out there, and all the other stuff. I'm starting to see a lot more pro-dad things floating around. And though I can't directly attribute that to my podcast, I am going to directly attribute that to my podcast. So you're welcome, dads out there, for starting the movement. Anyway, before we get to anything at all, why don't we just go to everyone's favorite starting segment, just a little bit of Dad Advice. Today's Dad Advice is an interesting little tidbit that I have come across on the interwebs, the tubes that bring us our information. Ooh-hoo. Listen to this one, guys. If you need to keep your baby a little entertained while you get something done for just a 20, 30 minutes, I've found out that if you get a helium balloon and tie it to their wrist, like with a string, and when they move it, it'll move above them, and it will draw their focus. And then every time they start to move away, they'll move their wrist, they'll draw their focus back to the balloon because the balloon will move as well. And you can get these at the dollar store. You can buy those little helium tanks if you want to. It's not an expensive undertaking, but I've read and heard from several of my friends that it actually can keep them busy for up to 30 minutes. So if you need to get something done, do the dishes, or you need to just kick back for a few minutes, just put them on the ground on a pad, not on the ground, on like a, not on the ground. Come on, guys. All right, I expect more from you guys. All right, come on. But, man, tie a balloon to their wrist, and they'll be just kicking and giggling for days. That's today's Dad Advice. We love Dad Advice, don't we, guys? I know. Guys, it's been a hell of a week. But you know what started this week? You know what made this week it was a good week to start because, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I went, mostly by demographic information, mostly gentlemen, some ladies. Shout out to the ladies out there. And the dads, shout out to everybody. Really, thanks for listening. Went back to More Than Waffles, fellas. All right, we went back to More Than Waffles. Yes, I had my Eggs Benedict, still not a traitor, and I enjoyed the living hell out of it. It was a delight. The atmosphere, the service, the coffee was so good, and oh my God. Guys, if you ever get to Southern California and Encino, go to More Than Waffles. I had to let you know I went back because it's an exclusive hot spot for breakfast. Moving on from that, so these kids nowadays, today, no, my daughter, she sleeps in the best night. We're about to transition her over to the crib. And please feel free to shout out when you went from bassinet to crib. I'd love to hear it because it's varying from everyone I've heard. My daughter has this bassinet with a little vibration attachment to it to help her sleep, which is great because it does. But the problem I have is I'm going to throw a reference from ABC's Lost at you. I feel a bit like Desmond from Lost because the thing, it's so stupid. The vibration feature turns off after about 30 minutes. The second it turns off, the whole thing turns off. She starts fussing, and so before she starts crying, I get up, roll over, hit the button, and then try to go back to sleep. And it's like clockwork the entire night. After a few of those, sometimes she'll go down for a few hours. But, I mean, I feel like I'm pushing the button to save for the end of the world, mate. Oh, that was a bad accent. Oh, Desmond, he was Scottish, so just assume that's what that was. Such a bad accent. I'm not even going to try it again. That's just, that's an epic fail. But yeah, this is one of those regular things where it's just become so prevalent, that it's just been bothering the hell out of me. But she sleeps. She'll get there. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's just something that has been irking me. And I figured if you guys have ever gone through a similar situation, feel free to reach out because it's so obnoxious and it's really kind of hard to describe to anyone who hasn't had to do it. They're like, well, just don't do it and let them get used to it. Okay, because that's how parenting works. Just don't do something and let him get used to it. Because I'll lose all sleep because she's fussing all night because I didn't push a goddamn button. Yeah, that's how it works. You just listen. You're a slave to your baby. That's the way it is. The baby wants something. The baby gets it. The baby has zero other ways of communicating. So if you're not up for that, then you're probably not up for parenting in general. That's just the way it is. Look, work this week has been horrid, to say the least. My office moved from West LA to Burbank, and it's an entire office move. I have been there for 6 years, and the office has been there for over 10, and it has just accumulated. The general accumulation of shit in a household over 10 years is staggering. Now think about an office that literally... it's a production company. So we're constantly accruing shit and not throwing shit away because of liability and then not throwing it away because we forgot about it. But like, it has so been awful. I've literally been working ridiculously long days to make sure that everything goes well, and there's every day it's new questions. How do we do this? How do we do that? How do we do this? It's nuts. And so, my mind has been a little foggy because of that lately. Also, Penny has gone into a sleep regression, which I'll talk about a little later. So I have not been sleeping very well, and that leads us to me fucking up earlier this week. I had gotten out, actually, surprisingly, a little earlier than I expected to get out. So I went to go pick up Penny from daycare, and my wife, oh, you'll pick her up? Yeah. And I hadn't eaten really since breakfast, and we're talking 3:00 here now. So I stopped at McDonald's, grabbed a bite to eat, got to daycare, left the phone in the car, went in, and those daycare people really like to talk your ear off. So I'm in there for about 20 minutes, like, okay, I just want to pick up my kid. You're very sweet. Thank you for dealing with my child all day. And literally all they're doing is they're telling me what happened all day and what's this, what's that. And, oh, she's so good. Oh, I did this all day. I'm like, cool. I'm trusting that you did your job. I'm slowly walking towards the door. But I'm in there for about 20 minutes. I get out. And, well, I guess let's roll back. My wife had attempted to get a hold of me earlier in the day, and because I was moving around so much, I didn't have my phone on me, and it just worried her. She called me a bunch of times, and then I finally got back to her. I was just like, no, it's fine. It's just been a busy day. And, again, so now we're back to I left my phone in the car, and I come out to 5 missed phone calls and some text messages, and... it's one of those things that you don't realize how terrifying it can be. Now, she knows I'm on my way to pick up my daughter. She now can't get a hold of me at all. And she is, assuming the worst. And, after five calls, and it's been 20 minutes. It wasn't a crazy amount of time. But when you're thinking about things that could potentially happen. Yeah, it makes sense. And of course, I got the riot act on me, and fair enough. But like, thinking about that more, I feel awful just because she was thinking that, I thought something, you could have been dead. And it's true. I live in LA. It shouldn't take me that. And then she thought I would have already been there, but I'd stopped to get lunch. And so I had already added that plus the time talking to the stupid teacher lady. And then now we're talking about an extra, probably 40 minutes extra than would have normally been on there. And so she's freaking out, and justifiably. So I felt awful because now I'm putting myself in her shoes. There was one time I tried calling her a bunch of times, and I couldn't get a hold of her for like an hour. And it's freaky. Especially now you're talking about parenting. Like, thinking about not getting a hold of the person who supposedly has your kid is terrifying. Like when Lila called, when we were doing the chorus, or what is it, the Christmas concert a week ago, she called, and then I couldn't get a hold of her for like 4 phone calls after that. And of course she was dealing with my screaming child, so I get it. But trying to think about how that really does affect the situation is everything's on edge now because we're one big family unit. So I felt terrible about that. And I mean, it's not even a thing of like, oh, I couldn't get a hold of you for 5 minutes. There was no reason in her mind that I wouldn't have already had Penny, and there's no reason that I wouldn't have answered the phone. It was just a series of unfortunate events, But that was pretty much the big fuck up, and I get it. Of course, we're fine. It was just a very bad situation that kind of unfurled, it was fine, but I felt really bad. I still feel a little bad about it, but got a couple fun little topics for you. Make a list of movies or shows that you want to watch, but you can't. And I say this because there's a lot of TV shows that I really want to watch and a lot of movies that I want to watch, and I just don't have the time for that right now. But in the TV show realm, I'm almost kind of excited about that because when I do have the time, when Penny's sleeping well through the night, or she's older and is doing something, and I can sit and focus on a TV show for an hour or so, I will be able to binge watch these shows. Because, I think Netflix and other streaming services have babied us into like this binging where I can watch an entire season in a day. Like, I like that show Atypical on Netflix. I think it's really good. And me and my wife watched that in a day. And you know how much production is put into that. And it's like, it's just streaming in general. Like, binging is the new way to do things. So when these episodic serials come out where it's like, week to week, like Mandalorian, which is really great. I haven't had a chance to watch a few of the episodes. And HBO's coming out with some great new content. So I just don't have a lot of time to watch a bunch of shows because I'm, and I don't want to watch them when I'm playing with Penny or when I'm taking care of her, because then I'm either not paying attention to Penny in that situation, or I'm not paying attention to the show, and both things will require my attention. So I just, that's kind of a thing I'm looking forward to. And I was talking to a friend about this. I think binge watching has ruined television in a way. It's a little off topic of parenting, but bear with me on this. When we would watch a show week to week, Game of Thrones, we're talking about episode blank for an entire week. And we're all waiting for the next episode. And it's so great. It's ingrained into our memory. When I watch a show on Netflix, just for example, Atypical, and I watch it for one day, and then I wait almost a year for the next season to come out, I'm not talking about that every day. And I think that it's changed the way that we watch television. Binging a series now is almost like watching just a couple episodes. You're like, oh yeah, it was good. I'm just waiting for the next one to drop. We'll talk about it. And you're not, and there's so many shows out there, so it's hard to talk, to keep all that in the realm of general conversation. But yeah, it's kind of weird if you think about it. We would talk about episodic week to weeks really well. Like, even go back to like Home Improvement. You're like, oh yeah, we just talked about this episode. And now we're just like, yeah, I watched the whole series. And you're not focusing on individual little vignettes from the episodes. You're just talking about the series overall. And that's fine, but it's definitely a different realm of conversation, I think. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that. Gentlemen, be prepared for calluses. I have officially entered into my sandpaper hands. And look, I work with my hands too, so I do generally have calluses, but I now have calluses from holding this goddamn car seat and bringing her and schlepping her about, be prepared for calluses. My hands and my wife's are starting to get calloused up too. And it's just, you're holding, I can't even wear my ring, or I can't hold my ring hands from my my wedding ring because it pinches. She's heavy. She's 18 pounds almost. 18 pounds. So that plus the car seat, and it's dead weight, and you have to hold it away from you or else you're bumping her into it. And spoiler alert, sometimes I just like limp her along with me. Sorry, guys. Sorry. That's just, it's going to happen. She goes right to, she's fine. It's crazy how much stuff goes into just getting her from my apartment to my car, and my hands are now just like solid walls of rock, which is great. I don't mind it so much, but I'm always picking at it and stuff like that. But if you didn't think that's an option, well, spoiler alert. Moving on. Just a fun fact out there, everyone. After you have spent a shit ton of money, billions upon billions of dollars for delivery, labor, recovery at the hospital, you also still have to pay for the birth certificate. And for Rush to get it like quick, because this close to Christmas, I'm not going to order a birth certificate normal because we need it to fly, I believe. So I did the overnight option, and it was like $55. But you'd think that like that's part of the package. They have you fill out all the information that gets sent over to the registrar's office. So I don't understand why we then have to, on our own, you're requesting a copy of it. And I'm like, I don't want, I want my original. I know copy, it doesn't mean a copy, but you should be, just like my daughter's social security card, I should be issued the initial birth certificate. And I should have to pay for the subsequent ones if I need more than one. I still have my long-term birth certificate from when I was born. It's on like fucking parchment paper. It's literally old. It's so old that I'm sure at some point they're going to have me get a new one. It's about, I'd say, 32 years old. Yeah, I know. I get it. It's a birth certificate. But no, my daughter, it's like we have to fly in February, and it's been a lot, a lot of things fall the wayside, especially when you can't just order it right away. You have to wait like 2.5 months before it's in the system. So 2.5 months of having a kid is a lot of time to forget to order your birth certificates. So serve this as a friendly reminder for you to order your birth certificates. It's very pertinent that you have these, as proper documentation for your child is always a great thing to have. But yeah, it's just after you spend so much money at the hospital and the bills through insurance, we still have to pay like a bunch of money after that. And you still have to pay for your birth certificate, and you have to be responsible for ordering it on your own. I'm like, look, I'm responsible for my daughter. Y'all should be responsible for ordering the birth certificate. Whatever. So yes, public service announcement, order your child's birth certificate or you will regret it when you need it, because it's not one of those things that's like really quick, I don't think. No, I ordered overnight. I still don't have it. I ordered it a couple days ago, so we'll see. We'll see when it gets here. Anyway, moving on to another one. We have Penny got sick for the first time, and I'll lump that into the big one. We dropped Penny off at daycare for the first time ever this past week. So I'm nervous to go into daycare. I just like that. I feel like I'm intruding on what they're up to in there. But my wife dropped her off in the morning, and I was going to work a little later. I had some stuff to do in the morning, and then I went in. But I was going to stop by I was going to stop by daycare to just say hi, And so I go to daycare, and listen, call me a bad father or whatever. I know what my daughter looks like, but listen, I go to daycare. I walk in, oh, hi, oh, they remember me. I'm super tall, so I'm very memorable. I was kind of like, okay, I'm here to see my kid. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, do you need to see any documentation from me whatsoever. And the receptionist is a sweetheart. She remembered me, so that's why she didn't make me do it. But the woman in the back was like, yes. The receptionist was like, no, you're good. And I'm like, here's my license, thanks. And then they point me, there's 2 rooms for infants. I did not know this. They said, oh, she's right in there. And they point me to the room to my left. I walk into the room to my left. I don't see my daughter right away. In the back of the room, now I didn't remember what my daughter had left wearing the house, and so that was part of it. They're pointed to the young girl, that's very like young baby girl in the back wearing pink, and I walk over to her and I'm like, I'm certain this isn't my baby, but they're telling me this is my baby, so I'm very more embarrassed and confused that I was actually being like, I was being too nice. I didn't want to be an asshole and be like, this isn't my fucking kid. And so I kind of look down and I'm like, hey there. And I pick up this strange baby. My wife's thing is so funny because she's like, you almost, because you didn't want to make anyone feel bad, you almost played with a completely different child for a time, because I am very nice. I'm like, these women know who my kid is, right? But yeah, I picked her up and I was like, this isn't my guy. Like, guys, okay, the jig is up. This isn't my baby. And before you say anything, I know what my daughter looks like, and I knew this wasn't my daughter when I looked at her. But when you're being told by the daycare staff, yep, there she is. And I'm like, this isn't, but I'll give it a minute and see if maybe she becomes my kid. I'm just too polite, I think. And that's honestly what that was. But I finally, she's in the next room over. They made a mistake. I just was being too polite about it. And that's the end of that. Relax. So I get my little girl and I'm like, oh, she's so cute. And she was not being like, she wasn't upset. She saw me and she smiled. And then and so it's all well and good, but I'm there in the middle of the day. I have to leave and now go to work, and she's still staying there. And I had to leave. I saw her for a few minutes, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going back to work. And she had to watch me walk out. So I'm wondering if I should even have been there in the first place. So I'm not visiting her in the middle of the day anymore, because I think that's, first off, I got into the car and I was like, okay, we don't need daycare anymore. I called my wife because I felt awful for just leaving her there. So my wife drops her off in the morning. I pick her up when I have the chance, or my wife does. And that's how you feel. You're leaving your baby. And I'm like, I haven't had to deal with that. I felt so bad. But they're putting her on a schedule, and they're like, oh, what's her schedule? I'm like, why don't you guys put her on a schedule, and then we'll try and follow that schedule at home. How about that? Because we do, right now it's when she cries, when she's hungry or she got a diaper, and we figure it out from there. They do 2 hours strict bottle times and all kinds of stuff. So that's nice. But yeah, the smile I got when I saw her was literally just, it broke my heart. And then I saw her, she watched me walk away, and it was heartbreaking. I really felt awful about it. And now it's been a week or so, and I'm not going to visit her in the middle of the day for sure. But now I get to pick her up, so I get that smile like, hi, Dad. And then the subsequent half an hour of driving where she cries the entire time. I got this also. And here's another annoyance. It's so refreshing to have the dad picking up the kids from the staff. And I was like, why do you gotta say shit like that? Like, it just feeds into the stigma that fathers don't do as much shit that mothers do, and it bothers the hell out of me. Like, okay, maybe some dads can't pick up their kid because they're working 80 hours a week. Maybe some dads can't pick up their kid because their mom's a stay-at-home mom because they're working so much to take care of the family. And I try as hard as I can to pick up my kid as often as possible, but I can't do it all the time. And that's why we're a two people in a family to do the best we can for our kid. That's all we can do. And you're going to give me that, it's so refreshing for a dad. Dads just don't do it enough. And I'm like, no, we have shit to do. There are shitty parents on both sides out there. I've said this 100 times over. There are bad moms and there are bad dads. And they paint an awful picture for both of us. Or for in general, because those are the ones that get set, like so out there that people just think all dads are awful, and that's not the case. But no, it's so refreshing to see. What if I said that? It was so refreshing to see a mom picking up. I'd get shit about it, because the first thing people would be like, moms do so much more, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna fucking make a stink about it at daycare. But it's like I want to make every effort I can to be as in my child's life as humanly possible. And that I can't be there all the time, but when I can, I am. And it's because I can't be there, not because I'm out at the bar getting shit-faced, not because I am off hanging out with my buddies and not giving a shit. It's because I'm at work, or I'm doing something important. I'm doing something that I can't take her along with me for. And it breaks my heart not to be able to fucking do that. But don't come at me like, oh, it's so good that you're one of the good ones. You're one of the good ones. Now, I am an amazing father, self-stated and confirmed. But we're all good ones. All parents are amazing. Every parent that gives a shit and takes an effort and puts it in, they're all amazing. But you don't have to fucking make it seem like everyone else is shit at their job, but you're doing great. Attaboy. Thanks for picking up your kid. First off, you could pick up your kid and then be a shitty parent the rest of the day, by the way. But no, just, I get a lot because I do have a lot of time to spend with my kid. So when I can, I'll take her with me places. And I get a lot, oh, it's great, Daddy's taking her out, or Daddy's doing this, Daddy's. I'm like, yeah, Daddy's doing that because this is my life. This is my everything. I'm in this little carrier is my whole fucking world. So yeah, I'm doing that, but you don't have to thank you for the recognition, I guess, but it's almost condescending because you're giving me recognition. It makes me feel like everyone else is shitty and I'm lucky. It's lucky that I'm a good dad. And it's not. It's because I want to be a father. I love being a father. And I don't know. It's annoying. I've talked about it before. There's lots of stigma out there about parenting, and a lot of people just think that dads don't do enough, and that's one of the things that's why I do this show. I want people to hear the side from a father's perspective. And yes, I knew who my kid was. I just felt it was a lot of confusion. And that's it. And look, I'm being honest with you because I didn't have to share that, but there was a lot of emotion, a lot of confusion, and I just felt uncomfortable going into daycare in the middle of the day. Like, am I allowed to do this? But yeah, so that's how I feel about that. I just wanted everyone to hear the reasoning. So that and here, listen, if you heard what I just said, the entirety of this prepared material that I've had, you can maybe understand why this episode is a day late. It certainly isn't $1 short, but it is a day late. And with that, I am going to move on to the hot news segment that just moved into town. This news segment, hot news segment. See, I saved myself on that. They're not all news segments, by the way. I think I oftentimes say the news segment. They've all been segments for quite a while. But this hot news segment that just moved into town of the Dadly News. The Dadly News is brought to you by our sponsor, Hard Hats and Bibs. Who are they, you may ask? They are a group of men and women who aim to show that it doesn't matter what gender you are. Parenting is an even distribution of responsibilities. It's time to break stigmas. There's a lot more to them than just that, but you can learn more yourself by going to their Facebook page by searching Hard Hats and Bibs. You can reach out to them by email at hardhatsandbibs@gmail.com, and they are also on Instagram and Twitter. Now, you just heard me talking about equal parenting and stigmas, so you know that this is a cause and an organization that I can fully get behind. I will not just willy-nilly take sponsors that don't align with the ideals of this show. So take a look at them. They're doing the Lord's work, we'll call it. This article is from today.com. This dad gives NICU babies a chance to spend Christmas with Santa. Greg Phelps knows what it's like to spend holidays in an intensive care unit, so he makes sure parents get a great holiday surprise. Baby's first Christmas, with the adorable holiday outfits and the family cheer, is an exciting milestone for any parent. But for families whose babies are born early and have to be in the neonatal intensive care unit, or NICU, it's a time that's more stressful than joyful. Greg Phelps knows this all too well. He was once one of those families. So now he does everything he can to bring a little holiday cheer to some parents. Phelps has spent the past 17 years making holiday rounds in the NICU at Ascension St. Joseph's Hospital in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, dressed as jolly, cheerful Santa Claus. He knows how to put a smile on NICU parents' faces. In 1998, Phelps was in a NICU worrying about his son Kyle, who had been born 3 months early and weighed less than 3 pounds. It was a shock and an absolutely chaotic event throughout the entire ordeal, Phelps explained. I was overcome with anxiety and the fear of the unknown. In December, Santa visited the NICU and took pictures with all the babies. For Phelps, the visit was so impactful that once the original Santa retired, he took over the role. For a few minutes, it helped to bring some hope and joy and brought a smile to our faces that we have a picture of Kyle with Santa Claus on his first Christmas, Phelps said. Now, even though I'm dressed as Santa and I'm there to spread holiday cheer and joy, I can legitimately tell parents that I was right where they were on this day, on the same day. Last year, Ron and Amanda Sari spent over 100 days in the NICU with their newborn daughter, Lillian. They were one of the families who were visited by the Phelps during the holidays. In walked Santa, Amanda said. It was really great experience because thinking that your child's not going to be home with you on Christmas was really hard thing to deal with, and having Santa come in and get those pictures with him for Lillian's first Christmas was really special. Phelps had also begun to bring his son, Kyle, along on these trips. He helps his father deliver stuffed animals to the babies and their families. For the parents, I like to think that I'm an example of health and hope that they can see their child who's in the NICU grow up to be, he explained. Even though the Phelps family moved to Oregon several years ago, they still make the annual visit. Even though we live 2,000 miles away and 2 time zones away, we never forget the importance of the Santa Claus visit to the NICU, Phelps said. We don't know these parents, but we walked in their shoes and we know exactly what they're experiencing. And despite the volatility of the environment, we hope that they have a Merry Christmas. Reading that article, honestly, at first, I told you in a previous episode before, I'm so much more emotional about stuff with families, and thinking about kids in the hospital just really, it chokes me up. And reading it before, it kind of brought a tear to my eyes as to how awesome that is, you know? That is crazy. I am one of the people lucky enough not to have had to have a kid in the neonatal intensive care unit. I am thankful for that every day. Penny came out late. She took her sweet time. We do have a family member who's unfortunately, they had twins. The first one passed, and they were both born very, very early. And it's just so sad to think about that kind of stuff, but that someone's going out of their way to be like, and it's someone who's been in their shoes. You know, everyone says something like, oh, this happened to me. Like, yeah, I've been there, man. But something like this is hard to wrap your head around if you're not a parent. It's even harder to wrap your head around if you're not a parent and you haven't dealt with the NICU situation. So this person selflessly goes around to this hospital and every year makes these parents feel, because Penny's celebrating her first fucking Christmas this year. You know, this hits home. Oh, and I'm planning on for the rest of the year, I'm not going to do any real, it's going to be a lot of good articles, I feel, because we're in the holiday season. Just so you know, if you're looking for any like really shitty people, first of the year we'll get a douchebag article, but these next couple are going to be very heartwarming and holiday themed. That's such a nice thing. It proves that humanity still exists out there somewhere, and it's endearing. You know, I would do the same, and just saying, I've been there. To these parents who are going through one of the scariest times you can as an early parent. This is literally the first scare, and it's immediate. It comes right after birth. You're rushed, and your kid's in an incubator for months of their lives. 100 days, that person, less than 3 pounds for his own kid. That's terrifying. And so, you know, while some of us get to experience the joy of our daughters and sons like grabbing our fingers when they come out and that first cry, these people have to experience the terror of having just, you know, going immediately rushed away from you to have an emergency surgery sometimes, and all kinds of stuff. So this person going around and making these people feel better and knowing that he is sat in that exact same seat, to me, is just one of the best things. And when I came across this article, I had to share it with you. So that's how I, let me know if anyone has had a similar situation. I pray for all those kids in the NICU and all those families to a swift and speedy recovery, and that they move on and live their happy and healthy lives. But this guy is just going above and beyond. So go for him. Now, that's just so much emotion there. But there's more emotion because I'm about to talk to you about my little girl, my little baby girl. My tiny little baby girl, little baby little Penelope. You know what I mean? So why don't we just roll on over to where is my penny at developmentally? Where is my penny at? Where is my penny at? Where is my penny at developmentally? I know you love my little tunes, so don't come at me saying, well, can you just say where is my penny at development? It's more fun to sing it. So if you didn't come to bring it, you didn't come to sing it. So get over it. My little sweet daughter is in a sleep regression. Oh my God. The last week has been a fucking nightmare. So she got sick at daycare. First fucking week of daycare. We didn't even go on Friday because she was sick. Had my holiday party, so we gave her to the in-laws, and oh my God, like I thank God my mother-in-law didn't tell us about it, but she peaked at 103 degrees. She was hot. When we went to pick her up, she was so hot to the touch, and she hasn't been sick. And I just fucking said the other week that I haven't had to deal with this, so it's my own fault for putting it out there. But it was so sad, and she was so bothered. She was so upset, and like literally, I'm telling you, hot to the touch. We made a doctor's appointment for that day. Of course, by the time we get to the doctor's, she is happy, healthy, and fine. She tested negative for the flu. She wasn't hot anymore. Her temperature was down to a 97. But I'm telling you, when I picked her up, she was warm. And it was scary because I had to go to work and I got a call. I heard, just like when she was with Lila, I heard screams like I had never heard on the other side of the phone when Sarah called me. And I went home immediately. There's nothing. I'm like, hey, guys, I got to go. And this is family emergency, the textbook definition, So we get to the doctor and she's fine. But ever since this illness, we gave her Tylenol and, all the stuff. They didn't give us anything for her prescription-wise because she was over it. But ever since, she has been back to almost newborn level of sleeping. She's up every 2 hours and screaming. She had 12 ounces of food before 6 a.m. because it's all we could do to calm her down was to give her food. And it's so stressful right now. This is another reason why I've been in a fog and why I, wasn't able, the whole thing with not getting the phone calls. I didn't sleep for 3 days. I finally, this morning, we slept because I figured it out. But every 2 hours, it's so rough, after you get used to her sleeping through the night or you get used to her sleeping for 4 hours at a time, she's back to nonsense scheduling. And like they said, last night she actually slept pretty well. But she's not loving her crib. They said at daycare she won't even sit in her crib for very long. And, so I got the boppy pillows still. And the only way I was able to get her to go for any long spurt was I took her into the living room, put her on a boppy pillow on the couch, and sat with her. And she would sleep there. But anytime I would get up, she'd start to fuss. So I'd stay there, and I couldn't sleep. It was very uncomfortable. And I would end up making a little bed for myself on the floor. And finally, I brought an air mattress home because I have a few of them at the office. I know it's a weird thing to have at the office, but I do. And so I was sleeping in the living room just because I want to give my wife a chance to sleep. And she's always an early to bedder. So I've dealt with no sleep. I've always been a late night, staying up playing video games or whatever. So... and I just want her to sleep in general. She had to put up with childbirth. I can lose a few hours of sleep. But yeah, so this sleep regression thing is fucking real. And I talked about it on a previous episode, and goddamn, it's so crazy. But she seemed, fingers crossed, she's over it. And she's got a little bit of the sniffles. All these kids at this daycare are Oh, it's like a hospital, like a sick kid's hospital. I swear to God. My wife went and picked her up for the first time the other day, and she was like, everyone in there is sick. And I'm like, isn't there a rule about sending your sick kid to daycare? I understand it's inconvenient, but like now my kid's sick, so Penny's got a bit of a runny nose, and she's okay. She seems to be on the tail end of it. She's using, on a different note, sorry, I guess we'll cap that for now. We'll let you know how she's doing next week. She's using a lot more sensories toys. She likes those ones with the crispy, like, crunkly paper so that she can feel and she can hear the sound. She's anything that she can manipulate with her hands, so anything that she can shake or roll around, she's loving it. And now her best thing, it's all about tummy time now. She was sitting up was her jam. It still is, but she wants to be on her belly and she wants to do those push-ups, because when I'm trying to change her, she's trying to roll over, and that's frustrating. That is frustrating. You're trying to get her and she's like, and then she's screaming half the time, so it's frustrating. Look, guys, I'm frustrated. Can you tell? Well, I mean, look, this is just general parenting. Look, you're not listening to this show to hear a guy talk about how easy parenting is. You're listening to it to hear an honest opinion on parenting, because I have not lied to you about anything. If I wanted to lie to you, I wouldn't have told you my daycare story. I'm all about honesty, and it is, guys, it's frustrating. Get over it. It's okay to say it's frustrating, but get over it. You know, there's no turning back. You have a kid. It's going to be rough, but the rough times are so few compared to the just pure joy of having a kid. I love every second of it, even when I'm frustrated. So if you don't think that you can handle a bit of frustration in the early years and probably a lot more frustration in the later years, I got to tell you, you're barking up the wrong tree, kids. So, you know, just take it in strides. I haven't slept for 3 goddamn days, okay? And I'm still doing, this is why the show's delayed. I'm still giving you a show. It's a little on edge. I had to have a Red Bull this morning because I was going to do it last night. I was so tired. I was going to take the Red Bull and kind of power through it. And I'm like, I'm just going to do it in the morning. So here we are. But geez, here you go. This is the whole point of the show. It's rough. Parenting isn't easy. Anyone who thinks it is a fucking idiot. Or they have a nanny, I guess. I don't know. But it's the best thing that you could ever do. It's the greatest thing you could ever do. So if there's anything you glean from this, is that I am frustrated far less than I am just in awe of my adorable little baby girl. There's right in front of where I record, there's a picture of her from our JC Penney photo shoot, which I told you about many episodes ago. And it's her doing like the blue steel look from Zoolander, which obviously she was far too young to do that. It was just the natural face she had on. But I look at that while I record, and it makes me happy. So, yeah. Guys, it's been fun. It's been real. I do apologize for the delay, but I hope you agree this episode was worth the wait. It's worth its weight in gold, you'd say. Mm-hmm. And technically it's digital. It weighs nothing, and therefore it does not have an actual exchange rate, just in case you're trying to get me on that. But I'm loving it. I'm getting more and more and more listeners. I'm getting more and more and more feedback and people reaching out. Do not be afraid, friends and family. Do not be afraid to reach out to me. I am happy to talk to you. I respond almost immediately to Facebook messages. I always try to respond to the comments on the show, and leave a review. I'm pretty open. I'm able to talk. You want my opinion on something privately, I'll give it to you. You want my opinion on something publicly, just shoot me an email and I will talk about it. I am always looking for things to talk about. So do not be afraid. Shits and gigs, 2Gs42 at gmail.com, or any of our various social media I'm at. Review us on iTunes, review us on Podbean. If you enjoy the show, share it with a friend. Anyone who you know is expecting or has recently had a kid, I feel will benefit from the show. Women and men. Women will benefit from the perspective of man, because a lot of, I think one of the bigger things with a new kid is I can't understand my wife's feelings on it, and because I'm still trying to figure out my feelings on it. And now we're on a good level. But when you first have a kid, you're trying to figure out your own stride. And so is your partner, your significant other, your wife, whatever you want to do. And they're doing the same thing. So it's really hard to figure out what's going on with them while you're still figuring it out with you. So if you need to know how a husband feels, the father feels about it, this is the show for you. It's great, by the way. I love it. And with that, I have to move on. I have things to do, offices to move, kid to parent, just one. Don't worry. My wife gave me shit about that. I said kids on a previous episode, corrected myself with a kid. And she's like, kids, really? And I'm like, I know. Well, maybe I'm parenting someone else's kids, you know? Who knows? But anyways, I will leave you as I do every week. Oh, actually, before I do that, I am preparing for the holiday special. We are doing a holiday special Christmas episode. It will be released the 24th, Christmas Eve. It is going to be amazing. It is going to be fantastic. And it's not going to be bad. You get it? So next week is the Christmas episode. I'm so excited. I got a lot of prepared material. I learned to play an instrument. You're going to love it. We may even get a special message from a special person. Who knows? My wife's going to be around to hang out and read us Christmas letters to Santa. It's going to be crazy, guys. Crazy. And I have all Christmas-related topics. So it's going to be a fun one because this is Penny's first Christmas. I can't miss out on that. I can't not have it be a special episode. What if she listens back and she's like, Dad, why didn't you make a big deal about Christmas? I don't know. Anyway, with that, I will leave you, as I do every week, with my world-famous words of wisdom. My kid is better than your kid, and vaccinate your kids or keep them the hell away from mine. I'm Matt Howes, and this has been Shits and Giggles, a podcast for dads. You've just listened to one dad's perspective on parenting. This show is not meant to be an authority on how you should raise your kids. Did you enjoy the show? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on social media. Leave a review. Anywhere that you can find and download podcasts, you can find Shits and Giggles. Find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at shitsandgigs42 with 2 Gs. Email us at shitsandgigs42@gmail.com. You can find us on YouTube as well by searching for Shits and Giggles, a podcast for dads. Don't forget, you can also call the hotline to leave a quick story about you as a parent at 818-835-2350. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.